Okay.
And then this year our goal is to sign 100 more. We've signed 11-ish. I think there's a couple pending.
That's awesome. Well, cool. I'd be excited to hear more about it.
Yeah.
I've bounced around from a lot of different companies. I don't manage my own. We're gonna probably make our own. My
It's
partner.
a lot of work.
I think my partner is gonna be heading that though, because he's operations.
Yeah.
I'm more sales marketing.
Nice.
Brain.
Yeah.
Growth. Yeah. But if we don't, we might decide we're not gonna do it. It is a lot of work, especially to scale it. It would be more like in-house, just for us.
Sure. Yeah.
And then if we're like, cool, we like it, try to do more.
Yeah.
What have you? I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about this.
No,
on
you're
the
good.
show.
We're already rolling, so we'll just keep rolling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
The
do have a
podcast is
question
on.
for you.
Yeah.
My own curiosity.
Go for it. Yeah.
What have you found has been, I guess, like, I'm more speaking financially because I think I know what the operations of property management look like. I've self-managed. So I think I can understand that much. But financially speaking, like having a management company, like when do you start making money? And like, is it, how do you think about that? You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Because I guess you have to caveat it. You know, everything's got its own story in the sense of, you know, I'm also a realtor. So for the first year, really, when we had just under 10, you know, nobody can live off of that. You know, if you're charging 10%, rent $1,600, you're making $160. Like you're not going to live off of that. That's really just extra. Yeah. And we just left it in an account. 21, I had a full-time job. 22, I had quit and I was full-time real estate. I mean, to say when we started making money, I would say it depends on what your view of making money is. Like, I'd say for a business, if you're making north of 10 grand a month, that's probably a pretty good marker. Cause then you can like hire somebody. Like we didn't hire her until we were making over Amy until after we were making over that. So I guess it depends. If you're a one man, like you're just solo, you know, if you're making $6 grand, like you can live off of that. Most people can live off of that. I guess it depends. It depends on if you have a family, if you're single, all that thing. So,
and it's $6 grand a month. I don't know how many properties that is. It's a lot, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, we have a
full-time work.
Yeah. That's probably full-time work. Yeah. I mean, we have $100 minimum. For some investors, if they've got more, like a ton of properties, we'll kind of drop it down. We like to work with people because it's like, I'd rather keep your business for 20 years versus, you know, 1 year where you're switching to new companies every time. But also when you look at the time involved and the types of rentals that are typically under $1,000. So $100 minimum is $1,000 rent. The rentals that are, you know, $800, like those are lower income housing, which like we do all of that. We do Section 8, we do lower income, but those just require a lot of work, you know, and it's fine, but it's the ones that cost $3 grand a month to rent. You usually don't hear from those people, you know, it's a different type of renter. Right. So we have $100 minimum. So then $6,000 is 60 properties, you know, so 60 properties self-managed or managed with one person, I'd say is doable, you know, like
one really good operations-minded person.
Yeah, I mean, you have a good operations-minded person. Maybe you have like a VA who does like some back-end stuff. You know, pay them whatever you pay your VA.
What I was scared about with property management was the just the sheer amount of like bookkeeping and ledger keeping.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Kept me away from ever want to do that because I'm kind of allergic to that work.
Yeah, that's like opposite of me. Like I think we're probably similar. You said sales and marketing type brain. Like,
I mean, if you have a podcast that's already saying a lot about your interests and goals.
My where I really function well is talking to people, meeting people, building those relationships. I've been doing the operations for years with other jobs and then real estate. And like once I got to the point where I could hand it off, I was like, please take it.
Who'd you hand it off to her?
Amy does a lot of like our maintenance requests, talking with tenants, stuff like that. Ben, my brother, does like all the banking stuff. But we also pay a third party to keep the books. So like they track everything that comes in every month for rent. And then what we send out, we have an escrow account. Like we have an escrow account and then our business account. So the escrow account, all of the payments come into that. So it zeroes out at the end of the month. Or if there's 1,000 in there, you know, it zeros to 1,000, whatever the minimum is. And then we just pay our business, our percentage. We move it to our account so you can track everything. And I don't know if it was running when we said this, but I think one really important thing about property management companies, the people who have lost because property management stole from them usually didn't have oversight. Like people who took the security deposits and ran, hundreds of thousands of dollars if you've got, depending on how many units you have. But we've got a third party, full-blown business that like this is their job. They do bookkeeping, business advising, forecasting, all that.
Wow.
They keep our books so that, I mean, if I just took the money and left, they would be like, where'd you go? Like they would be tracking it, and they could easily let Ben know, let Amy know. And if they really wanted to, they could let our investors know. They could probably find their contacts. So it is a little bit of a security, sales pitch when you tell. And I've got a couple investors who I'm talking with, taking over their portfolios, and they're I think, do you know Nick Giuliani? Mm-hmm. He said that he's lost a couple $100,000 to property managers just leaving, which is insane. Literally, I couldn't even imagine doing that. First off, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
But when you have someone watching your books, it puts a nice safeguard on that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what your question was to begin with, but the bookkeeping is not fun. I will tell you that, because if you're taking in $100,000 of rent, because that's $10,000 if you're doing 10%. That's a lot of checks coming in. People mail stuff in. People pay online. People call in and pay.
It's just a lot.
Yeah, it's just
a lot of detail work, which like my energy just drops. Like when I even have to think about doing that stuff. So I that's why the partner I have, who I started with Roots, I guess we can get into that.
Yeah, go for it.
So I guess I'll start from the top of the real estate stuff. So was a realtor for 2 years, kind of flying solo. I was actually on a team with a guy named Rex Fisher, who kind of Fountain Square real estate mogul, owns 300 units.
Holy cow.
And co-owns App Properties.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, formerly Platt Collective.
Yep.
And he's kind of the investment arm of that brokerage. So heavily focused on downtown, near East Side, near West Side, and some other parts. And that's what I wanted to learn. That's what I was passionate about. I lived in Irvington.
Nice.
Moved to Sobro. So I was like a downtown rat, I guess, whatever. And then eventually kind of woke up and was like, I really just want to build our own team. He had his own property management, like build our own property management, scaling up rentals and scaling up agency, I think was the goal. And then property management being the auxiliary business that I would hopefully like outsource, maybe have equity in the company, but probably not make much cash flow from it is still my thinking there. And so Roots was the name that I wanted it to be, and my partner, who's named Max.
Is he the redhead? I've seen, there's a guy, I feel like he's at App Property. He's got longer red hair. Is that Max?
He used to have longer hair, but it's brown.
Okay. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
You might be thinking of someone else.
Anyways.
He's very like operational. Like his brain works really differently than mine. Mine works towards people. And mine works towards people and growth. So like networking is like the back of my hand. His is more cleaning up the internal stuff and making things very organized. So it's like business wise, marrying that was really easy. He pitched me on starting the team. And so Roots Realty was born, which is a real estate brokerage team dedicated to helping people plant roots and build wealth. Sure. So we want to be 50% owner occupant, 50% investors.
Nice.
So yeah.
So is he a realtor also, or is he?
He's a realtor. Okay. We're both broker owners of the team. Soon to be a brokerage, probably. Nice. We hope to do that eventually.
So what does that look like? You're part of App Properties, and you guys said you started together. So when I think about like my business and how I help clients, I'm probably like 90-10 investor. Oh wow. Yeah. But even if you're doing 50-50, does like he take buyer leads and you take seller, or does it just like you get your own leads, I get my own leads, and then how does he handle operations specifically, and you do sales marketing? Yeah,
I would say I'm in charge of the retail side. He's going to generate clients from his family who he services and his friends, which he's 23, 24, so he doesn't have too many.
Gotcha.
I'm 29 and a lot of my friends are in their 30s, so I'm in charge of the retail presence, and I'm working with a lot of now move up buyers who are selling and buying, because that's the bulk of my family's income is retail buyers and sellers. The investors I see as just like the cherry on top. That's kind of reinvested into the business, reinvested into rentals, like kind of see them two different ways. He is almost all investor buyers, and he has an agent under him named Trent, who is very young, 21, and he's all about just working investor buyers. Like he loves it, and some investor sellers too. So they kind of run the investor side of our business.
Gotcha. By
like 90-10 to split. And I'm much more like 50-50, even probably 75% retail. Mm-hmm. And then I have an agent who I hired under me named Kyle Hoffman, and he wants to do retail too. So it's kind of like I'm the retail side, that touchy-feely side. I would say I excel at, along with kind of my right-hand man Kyle, in that they excel at just the numbers, the spreadsheets. Mm-hmm. I can speak that language if I want to. Yeah. It's just not what gives me life, gives me energy as much anymore. I realized I just want to be an investor. I don't want to be the investor agent all the time. Yeah. I did heavy.
Investor agent is a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Compared to primary residence buyers,
and lower commissions.
Yep.
And I'm trying to consolidate my deals. So if I used to do 5 deals a month, which I did at 200, now I'm doing 2 at 450.
Yep. Way different.
Yeah. So my time has been given back to start podcast, to start events for investors. So I would say instead of being an investor agent, now I'm more investor education in Indy. Mm-hmm. Our events, I would say, are some of the biggest for investors in the city. We have a masterclass and we have a happy hour, and that is what I'm that's the business super building fun. I'm focused on. Yeah. Figuring out how to monetize that has been challenging. Yeah. I've been taking a lot of cues from other Alex Ramosi and other people who talk about this sort of marketing thing. Yeah. And we're actually producing income from sponsors who want the leads. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, that's great.
So that's been cool to see how that works.
Yeah, I came to one of the meetups. I don't know if you said it was a happy hour or a meetup at the Co space last year, and I think Kenny Hall with Liv was on the panel, and I can't remember the other guys' names, but it was cool. There was a lot of people there. It was a couple hundred, maybe a couple hundred.
Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, it was cool. So do you guys share leads when they come in, just kind of depending on what the leads look like? Or are you doing marketing to get leads outside of the meetups? How do you kind of run the business in that capacity?
Yeah, we do have a website and a social media that produces leads and events. Yeah. Those actually get put to usually max because I generate a lot of leads for my personal brand and personal network and my personal social medias. So it's kind of like he takes control of those and he'll put them with the right team members. Mm-hmm. And our team members, if we give them a warm lead, they're making 50%. Mm-hmm. So we're going to make 25%. And then the brokerage team makes that other 25, I guess. So that's how we split it that way. But I get a lot of pretty good sphere leads. Mm-hmm. And those are people looking for their own house, 300 plus or selling. So I think that sustains me. In fact, in the summer months, that is even too much. So I have to refer some of that out. Mm-hmm. So I'm blessed that I have more than enough realtor business. Yeah. The question becomes is that what you want? Do you want to be working open houses on the weekend? Do you want to be doing showings on Saturdays and the nights with a young baby? And that's my where, that's sick. I was like, that is awesome.
I got that from a property we just bought.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah. Anyways,
I mean, that's genuine.
Yeah, I don't know if you. Oh,
wow, dude!
I didn't even know that did that. I don't know if you've got a typewriter guy, but I don't. So I want to try and get it working and send someone a letter or something stupid. But I just found it at the house that we bought. And this TV, it's like a old. I don't think it's a crank TV. I keep saying crank. I don't think there's a crank on it, but it's just a.
That is awesome.
Yeah, if you can't see, you got to watch on YouTube and you'll see the. Typewriter and the TV and all that.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, but that's sweet that you've got that much business that you can pass it off like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you said you've been a realtor for 3 years. Mm-hmm. What is has it always been kind of sphere? Did you do any cold calling, marketing?
I've never made one cold call as a realtor. Never done paid leads outside of Bigger Pockets, which was investors anyways.
Yeah. Was that worth it? I've looked into it and
it paid off for me. Yeah. A lot of people haven't felt that way. Okay. Because these leads are first time investors, need a lot of hand holding. They get in the transaction and they're scared. Yep. And you got to keep them, from the ledge, so to speak, and the mutual release. So it's now our team does them. And it's we call it the investor hamster wheel. Yeah. It'll get you in shape, but you want to jump off that treadmill once you can run your own sphere business.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been having this conversation a couple times over the past week or two, and it, you don't know my whole life story, and we're just like, I've been in the hustle mentality for so long that saying no to people, especially opportunities to potentially make a commission or if they buy it, then we manage it. Saying no to that kind of stuff sounds really dumb to me. It's like, why would I say no to that?
Yeah.
But when you think about, opportunity cost of working with a new investor, new buyer investor versus, here in Hamilton County, your average price is like, I mean, it's very neighborhood to neighborhood, but you're barely confined anything under 3. So you're easily in the 4, 5, 6, 7 range, and the commission on that's anywhere from 7 to 10, something like that. So when you think about, like you said, you're dealing with new investors who need a lot of hand holding, a lot of explanation over and over, which, I enjoy that. I enjoy teaching people and doing that, but it's hard when, we typically buy properties without seeing them. I'll look at it online. We'll write due diligence in. I'm not trying to be one of those guys who lowballs and then backs out on every offer, but like, I tell the agents, like, if I find something crazy, obviously we'll have to talk. But other than that, like, this is my offer. And then I go see it, and then that's that. But the new investors want you to see every single property. They want you to send you videos. And when you're a new agent, that's great. Like, it's like, I've got business. But it's almost, to me, it's like answering emails. Like, there's not a lot of monetary profit from answering emails, but you have to do them. And it just takes a lot of time. You know? There's a lot of people.
Well, what I found is I was better equipped to do the deals than the investors themselves. And so then I thought,
why am I
don't want to do that anymore. So now I go to horrible, crappy properties, with, all knob and tube and just like basements flooded only when I'm thinking about buying it. Or if it's like someone that has bought 3 or more with me, then I know they're serious. I know they know what they're looking for. I know they're not going to waste my time. But I have just an allergic reaction to any time wasting. I just can't stand when I invest tons of time for a lead that is a dead end. It really grinds my gears. So
it's also hard to know. Like, I just met a new investor 2 weeks ago. He called me. He went on my website, which is like a realtor primary residence realtor website more than it is investor, and just messaged me. He was like, "Hey, I'm looking to buy an Indy," and I called him and. You know that conversation. Typically, it's like, "Hey, I'm a new investor. Whatever. I've been listening to Bigger Pockets," and nothing happens usually. And this guy, we went under contract in 1 week on a house. Like, he's like, "I got it. Like, I'm ready. Let's go." And then we went under contract. He's like, "Okay, like, can you help me explain to me the numbers some more?" But he wasn't afraid to like actually.
And that's the best way to learn.
Action.
And it might not be the best deal. My first investment property is like had issues, and I learned a lot, and like. They'll be profitable because of the value growth,
for sure.
The cash flow, maybe not so much. But I just jumped 2 feet in, and I didn't look back. And now I'm much better at analyzing deals.
For sure.
Yeah. So
and I tell people too that if you're an investor, whether you're a new investor or an old investor, working with an agent who doesn't invest themselves is probably not the wisest thing to do, because the numbers are very different when you do investments. Utilities add up, like things come up, things you look for when you buy the house. Like the first house I bought, I was like, I mean, theoretically the numbers work. Like you're really going off of theory. So if you're working with an agent, like they could, if they're a seasoned agent, they can tell you the ARV and like, but I've had agents, I've looked at houses on the MLS where they're like $25,000 in renovations. And I look at the house just off the pictures. I'm like, just off the pictures, I can just point out $100,000 of work right here. Like you don't know anything about the construction world. And not that you have to know that to work with investors, but it helps for sure. Those things are important when you're like, how old is the water heater?
It should, I think it should be 2 different licenses, and I think it should be 2 different pay models. So right now you get paid the least for providing the most expertise in the investment world. You have to be,
that's a good idea.
So we actually are, we're taking the new NAR settlement as an opportunity. So we're going to create where like investors actually buy in to start. They put a deposit down to start working with us. And if they don't buy something, we retain it. If they do buy something, they get it back. So it'll say like 3%. Here's your package. We will set you up with a concierge level service, contractor walkthroughs, videos, CMAs, and then all the way down to like maybe a 1% or 1.5% package. That's like we just write the offer, do nothing. And I'm super pumped actually for this, because I think right now investors use 3 to 4 agents at one time, and I never know. So I back out because I have to have a committed client because I go really deep. But now it'll be like, well, it's obvious you're going to get a signed contract if you're doing any agency work. Even setting up an MLS search, showing a property, right? Of course, writing an offer. You have to have a buyer agency agreement. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to get back into the investor world because of it. Because now there will be security in that, like, I know these investors are an investment now that makes sense because they have this agreement signed with me. So it's a good litmus test. Like, if they're willing to sign an agreement with you, they're serious. If they weren't before, you probably shouldn't have been working with them in the first place.
That's really cool. I really like that. You got to verbal trademark that thing.
So
no one takes it.
I do need
honestly, that's kind of, and I don't want to be dramatic, but that feels like a groundbreaking type of idea. Like, you know, everything in today's world is subscription based, you know, and how do you make commissions? A lot of people stay away from sales jobs because commissions are volatile. You know, you could have a great month, you could have a bad month, you could have a great year, bad year, especially when the market's up and down. But yeah, I mean, that's cool working with investors where
that's the theory. We haven't started it.
I mean, but it makes sense.
That is the theory. And I think we will do it because I think in July 1, we're going to have that agreement signed. So it's a perfect opportunity to shift our business. I've had that idea. I've literally created the contracts and whiteboarded it. I just never had the motivation to like start it, but now I have the motivation because of the laws changing.
I mean, you're asking someone to put their money where their mouth is, really, and not just not in a mean way, and not in the sense of like buy real estate, but it's also like I'm experienced realtor. I know Indy. You know, Indy. Every street is different in Indy. You could be at $1 million house and then a $200,000 house. You got to know the local area. So you
pay a lot of money for an inspection. You pay a lot of money in closing costs. You pay. So why not pay an advisor? It's almost like your personal coach.
You're getting into coaching world now. Yeah, for sure.
Kind of trying to transition into that.
But they get like you said, they get that retention forwards into the deal. So theoretically, they're not out anything unless if they're just wasting your time. And then that's how you regain the ability to continue working.
Correct.
I mean, that's sick. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I got to do it.
Maybe I got to go join your team or something so I can use that.
You might have to just to learn the ropes.
Yeah, that's cool. I really like that. Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking of, we talked.
It's the first time I've said it publicly. Most podcasts haven't talked about this yet, but no, my partner has like literally the plan for like what the package you have. We have the whole presentation, and he started giving it, and he sends it to them, and he said it's like 90% they sign it.
For sure. I mean, I can't honestly, you know, and I just talked to an investor last week that I had never talked to before. He messaged me on Bigger Pockets, and you know, he wants to do new builds in Indy, which is, I mean, that's a lot of work. He's from Canada, I think. And I was like, he wants, you know, me to be his on the ground guy. And I was like, you know, I'm open to it, but I have to, like, I told him kind of the same conversation. I have to maintain my time. Like, I can't, you know, do whatever. And he's like, what do you need from me to get started? And my answer was, you know, really nothing. You know, as a realtor, you don't have any upfront cost with me to start
traditionally
looking for houses.
now.
Traditionally. But that's cool because it's like, I mean, here it is. Like, this is our packages. Like, if you want to get into this world with me, like I've got the experience, you know, we're doing a new build currently. That's cool. I really do like it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, that's cool. Now I'm just completely head spun because I wasn't expecting that. But so we're you know, 5 years from now, you know, you're looking at your business. What do you know, business ownership wise, where do you want to see yourself? Maybe not growth necessarily, or growth, whatever, but you know, you talked about what you really enjoy. You know, what do you see? Are you single? Do you have wife or kids?
I have a wife and one kid.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. So
how old is
he? Is 6 months old.
Awesome.
Cal.
Congrats. Yeah. 6 months. 6 months. You're a boy.
It's amazing.
How long have you been married for?
4 years.
4
years. Just had our 4th year anniversary.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. How many kids do you guys want?
Oh man,
kind of just like
it could probably be around that 3 mark.
Yeah, nice.
Plus or minus, we'll have to see.
Yeah, take it as it comes.
Yeah,
that's super awesome.
Yeah,
being a dad and being in a job like this changes everything.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I never really had, I guess, the experience of doing it single. I was married when I got my license, but even then, when we had our first, it just kicks you into another drive.
It does.
Like, I'm not going to stop until we're good. You just got to keep going and going and going.
But it also cuts out the BS because now your time's more important.
Yeah.
You could be writing a CMA, or I could be, you know, playing with my little kid and having quality time. So it, like, I don't work with, you know, the fluffy clients anymore that will waste my time.
Yep. And I think two things with that. One, I 100% agree. And at the beginning, you said, like, do I really want to be showing houses on a Saturday or doing open houses? Like, I don't honestly do a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
Because I don't work a ton with primary, residence buyers who need to go on the weekends. A lot of investors, I can go, Monday through Friday and look at the properties. But like, even this past Saturday, I was working for a couple of hours in the morning. Like, I left at like 8 or something, got back at noon. And that was like, that's hard. When you we have 2 now, and that time is so valuable for me. Being able to choose whether or not I need to do that or not. I don't know where I was going with that, but yes, it does force you to, cut out the stuff that's not important. But I think also when you do that, it will, boost your business, because people are like, people respect that almost. They're like, I'm not, I get it. Like, if I'm not going to commit, like, I don't want to, like. You
just become a more in demand person because you've defined, what you're really chasing after, where you provide value. You're not chasing after everything. I'm not chasing after everything. My value is down here, but when I have a client buy box, our client box
for sure,
and it's actually local. I got burnt out with just phone calls and Zoom calls. I don't find that I like that face to face. I want them to see it. And so local, usually looking for that 250 plus range. And the right values, right? Like, you're going to take care of your tenants, or you're just trying to do this for your family or financial freedom, not just like, I don't know, vain pursuit of money, whatever. I just don't value that. And so when I clarify that, it becomes so much easier. I say no to clients a lot. I say no to a lot of leads, or I just pass them to team now.
You pass them to somebody else.
I pass them. So I can still capture that. Like, sometimes they close and I'm like, damn, I guess that was a good lead. But then I'll see the $100 check that was nothing except for one phone call and an email handoff. I'm like, that feels really good. So, because one thing I'll hit on is leads have never been more valuable in this marketplace. Zillow charges 35%, and I charge 25% for my leads. I'm probably going to increase it to 35%. And I think it's because they're choosing you because you're providing value. You're doing a podcast. You're doing all this stuff like I'm doing, and that's valuable. Like, you've created a lead magnet, and you should charge for that, because that's this hours of work, hours of thinking about it. Long-term work. And that's where, like you, I'm doing the long-term work, not short-term chasing a quick buck. And so I do want to charge heavily for that, which I'm noticing is the leads, is how you monetize it. So I want to be charging 35% top line for my leads and live off that. I'm like halfway doing it this year.
That's cool.
I mean, I made a sizable amount from the leads, and I've been doing it just kind of incidentally. Now I'm like, shoot, if
I really doubled down.
My mentor said you should track, if you just referred everything, how much you'd make and the time would free up. So imagine the time freed up.
So I guess when you talk about leads, you said you have never done a cold call. You don't really pay for leads. You're talking about your sphere, but also like generated from your meetups, from your Instagram, from website, all that stuff. You've got enough that you think you could pass that off and
so investor leads a ton, and a lot come from Bigger Pockets. If I ask them, where did you find me? It's either my personal website, which I did some SEO to be number 2 result for Indie Investor Agent.
Nice.
If you just search Indie Investor Agent, I'll be number 2 result after like one other result. But then Bigger Pockets, which we do pay, I actually don't work them anymore. But when I did, sometimes I dabble if I just want to get in the mix again. That's investors, which is a lot.
When you say pay, you're paying for like the premier agent or whatever it's called. Yeah.
And then, which for your listeners, someone who's wanting to work with investors and start, it's a great way to start.
For sure.
You'll learn a lot just from the phone calls and the questions they ask. And it's pretty knowledgeable people that want to get on there. So the second is definitely the sphere-based, more retail, maybe people in my network that are curious about investing but scared to take that leap. I'm working on creating a plan for them, which it could be that deposit plan with the packages. We did make a course. So I'm working on, like, if you're not ready to go buy $100,000 plus property, how can I still give you something that you will pay me for? Because the free coaching and coffee meetings get a little old. It was fun the first 2 times. Now I'm like,
it's just a way to keep your calendar full.
Yeah. It's just a way to keep your calendar. That's a good way of putting it. But the retail side is not like an abundance. It's enough for me.
Yeah.
And in this market in 2024, let's be honest, a lot of people are scared to buy, maybe even scared to sell, although it's a great market to sell a property in Indianapolis right now.
Yeah.
They don't know where the market's at. They see the interest rate, say 7 or 8, whatever, and they're scared. And so I think if rates were in the 5s, I would have to have a buyer's agent working under me, taking a lot of my things. But right now it's enough for me to do. And you asked how I generate those. I would say I'm doing like one networking time block per day, and that is a coffee meeting. That is literally a networking group. I'm a part of Citizen 7. I'm a part of a groups I've made for investors in town, groups, just other like entrepreneurs, a lot of them.
I was gonna say, I feel like the groups I've gone to, I end up landing there with 3 other realtors or other property manager. And it's like, I have no... I
have found some really good groups.
Yeah.
Citizen 7 is a good one.
Yeah, if you have good ones, send them to me.
I will.
And I have no problem. Like, I feel like I'm very disconnected from the political world of real estate. Like, I have no problem. Competition is great. Like, it's great for the market. But, like, if you're a realtor, I would love the commission, but like you said, like sometimes it's not worth it. I would rather, for me personally, the property management is great because it's monthly cash flow. And the more we can build that is great. And that's relations with realtors. So that's like when I go to meetups, like I just kind of turn off the realtor brain. If there's 5 other ones there and I just start property management, that's it.
Yeah. And when I go to those events, I used to have the realtor brain on, like, hope I can catch someone looking to buy a house. And now I actually go in with a mindset of how can I authentically connect with people and help people.
Yeah.
And the money takes care of itself.
Yeah.
They'll be like, cool, this guy's just a genuine guy. I want to help him.
You drop the commission breath and you're way more genuine. People are like, oh, I'd love to work with this guy versus the guy's like, hey, when do you want to buy? When are you looking to get your first property taken down? And there's a season for everything, you know, like I was there, you know, when I first started, I was like, I'll do anything to get commissions coming in, you know.
Correct.
It's an up and down roller coaster world, but you know, once you move into the bigger picture, I guess, is the kind of way to put it.
And I do want to hit on one thing, which is like lead generation is something that I'm obsessed over. I think it's really valuable. Like Alex Hormozi said, everything in business is a downstream from lead generation. You will not have a business without leads. That's just the fact. So I think a lot about it. I think about it every day, you know, every weekend day even. So I think I've tried to create like an ecosystem that leads will come into, and then kind of like goldfish, you're in the bowl, so to speak. And so that's the events, that's the newsletter, that's the social media, and that's just trying to have a valuable personality to help people. So then you keep them in that fishbowl because they're fed. They're like, I don't want to leave anywhere else. Like, he's got me covered. You know what I mean? Is the goal. Do I lose a lot of leads? Of course I do, because it's such a big world that they're going to find you, they're going to find whoever, and like that's their person.
And I think that's too. That was not a good sentence. I think that's too. One way that you grow in business, and you know, I see that I've grown personally, is like almost not caring, I guess, that you've lost those, because you know, as long as
they weren't meant to be there.
Yeah, and as long as I've got enough for my family, like this month, next month, I don't want to be living month to month, obviously, but like, you know, a lot of the business and stuff functions monthly. So like, as long as we're covered, like we're good. You know, like as long as I know we're going to be good for X.
And I think that's the healthiest way to not lose your mind. I have had the mentality that like I have to claw every lead that comes my way and hold them tight, and then you feel the most empty in that situation because you're noticing all that you don't have. If you're like, I have enough, and the quality ones that really choose me will stick.
For sure.
They will, if I don't respond to them on a Sunday because I'm taking the day off,
that's not gonna kill
they're not going to kill it.
Yeah.
And I lost it recently because I didn't respond within 24 hours, and I was like, it was cool because I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know a younger version of me would have like been upset for multiple days.
Yeah.
Not just one day.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy.
That is cool. I mean, and to anyone listening, I don't know. It's such a hard balance because you do want to feel that personal connection and that they really care. But if you asked anybody in their job to respond in 24 hours, that's a lot. You know, like outside of their family on a Sunday night, on a Saturday, or any day of the week, really, on a Monday night during dinner, like I get phone calls. I feel like a lot of people view business ownership wrongly, or even realtor work, you know, you own your own business. It's all your own business. But, you know, you go home from the office at 3, you know, just even if I left here at 3, which I usually leave at 5 because my house is 3 minutes away. I like get home at 5. Like I want to be able to be present, but if I go home at 3, I'm going to get phone calls from 3:30 to 7. You know, it's not like you leave the office and your phone stops ringing. Yeah. So at some point you have to make that decision to just stop answering, you know, and I try my best. Like there's some people like, you know, we're selling like a 9-unit portfolio right now. And if he calls me, the seller, like I'll probably answer it. But like if it's a random number, you know, I just let it go. And if they really need something, they'll leave a voicemail. Right. You know, and like you said, if they're a good client, they'll probably understand, hey, he's probably just busy. Yep. And you also don't always want to be working with the person who is at your beck and call, because that also means they probably have nothing else going on, which generally speaking leads to they may not be as great. Right. You know, knowing what they're talking about. Right. Maybe it's a circumstance where they just changed business models and they know a whole bunch and they're just getting started.
The best clients tend to have their priorities in order, where it's like, you know, faith, then family, then friends, then work or whatever. And it's like, if that's mine, which mine's similar to that, those clients respect that. I'll say like, hey, I'm on vacation. Give me a little more time. Or like, hey, I'm out for the night. They'll be like, yep, totally got it. Like, you're good, bro. Like, they will literally say that, you know? And then, of course, if it's an emergency and there's some deadline that night, like, I'll do it. It's part of being in the business. Yeah. You chose this world, and it has trade-offs. Yep. I could sit at home doing nothing on a Monday morning half the time because there's nothing going on. But then it, like, you know, Thursday at 7 p.m., it could be crazy. Yeah. So it's just the world we've chose to live in professionally, and that's part of it. Yeah. So what do you do outside of real estate? What are your hobbies? I've seen you, I followed you on Instagram for a little while. I saw that you just ran the Monon. Yeah. And how long is that? It's 20. It was actually 31 miles. 31 miles nonstop. So longer than marathon. Longer than marathon. Yeah. I don't know anything about running. I'm not a runner. I like to lift. I'll sprint, but long distance is not. I can't do that. That's crazy. So you trained for that for a while? Yeah, I was running since January. Okay. A long run every weekend. So that was my life for a long part of this year. But when you run for 31 miles, what do you think about? I mean, I did this one with 2 buddies. Okay. Nate Spangle, who actually has really cool Indiana content on Instagram. He was like documenting it. Nice. And he was like covering each town. Like he was like, we were starting Sheridan, like, and then Westfield and Carmel and Indy and Broad Ripple. And so that kept me really entertained. But honestly, man, like I really do well with like, there's one goal and we're just pounding it in. Yeah. Real estate or running, whatever it is, I could be digging, you know, a hole for something in my backyard, and like same mentality. I can get zone in. How do you do this goal the most efficient possible way? Yeah. I'm so I just zone in and turn on a different part of my brain and just pound it in, and it was amazing. I mean, yeah. What do you eat before 31 miles? I get hungry after 30 minutes of lifting. You know, I'm like starving. Quality carbs, sweet potatoes, granola, stuff like that the day before, a little bit of protein. And then the day of, just a lot of those goo gels, a lot of fruit. Yeah, I've seen those. Electrolytes. I would try to take something about every 2 miles. Okay. So, I mean, you got to stop running the whole time? Did you stop? Take breaks, but like not like a long breaks. Yeah. Because your legs will lock up. Like after 25 miles, you stop running. It's hard to get them back going. Even for like an experienced runner, like you know that if you stop for too long, you're going downhill. Because your legs will be like, okay, we finally can stop. Let's send out the inflammation signals to cool this down. But then like you start again, and it's like, all right, it's tough. That's crazy. The longest I've ever ran, I was in the military. I don't know the longest we ran there, but in high school, I just went out and ran the rail trail in Zionsville. Yeah. And I think I did like, I want to say 10, but I don't want to overshoot it. So maybe it was like 8 miles. I ran to the end and came. Dude, I got to the end and I was like, I have to go 6 back. Feels like a lot when you haven't ran. Like 5 feels like it doesn't. It's all relative. Yeah. But now I do like a mile at a time. I'm good. I'm good with a mile. My goal is to run it as fast as I can versus the distance. But that's crazy. 31 miles. That's a lot of. But then yes, what else we do for fun? I love Eagle Creek. I go there to hike a lot. Awesome spot. Love hitting at breweries. Definitely a beer fanatic. Do that a lot. And then
Is that quality carbs for running? Or
After, no.
Yeah.
Pickleball.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I used to be a tennis player in college, and now I just do pickleball.
Yep. Pickleball's all the craze nowadays.
Yeah,
it's
my parents
fun.
just got a lake house, so we've been boating, which
Nice.
is new for us.
Where's it at?
Lake Lemon.
Okay, yeah.
It's an hour south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandparents live in Jasper.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just right there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the state.
Oh, yeah. I always loved going to Jasper, going to my grandparents' house growing up. If our church wasn't here and our friends and our community wasn't all like here, we would go down there. And we would buy a bunch of acreage.
And maybe you can get a second home.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be cool. Just a place to go hang out and shoot guns and drive players around on the property.
Dude,
yeah, why not?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We wanted to live on acreage, but here in Hamilton County, it's expensive.
Oh.
1 acre is easily $100,000 plus.
Yeah.
And then you put a big house on it, you're easily looking
Well,
at
then why Hamilton County then if you want to live on land?
Yeah, I mean, like literally our church is right there. So we go here. Like my house is, we just moved into this house a couple months ago or 2 months ago. It's 3 minutes away. We were in Noblesville and we loved Noblesville. Like downtown Noblesville is
sick.
It's beautiful. It's super cool historic buildings. Our old office was in downtown Noblesville. But I grew up in Zionsville. So I've always kind of been north side.
Yep.
We would love to buy land in Sheridan before it's all gone. They're building like crazy.
That'd be a good investment, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. There was a client that I sold a house for last year. I think she literally owned it for 1 year and she made, I think like 25 or 30 grand off of it. Yeah.
That's not
Which
bad.
easily is your monthly payment. If you're looking at just a net profit, like you're easily making more than just your overhead costs.
She didn't even have to rent it to make money. Yeah. That's crazy.
But yeah, I think right now at this point we're kind of like we'll just keep our house and buy land somewhere else or buy a second cabin in the woods or something. I also saw you're listing one in Brown County.
Yeah.
How did you get that one?
Actually, full disclosure, it is my mentor's listing.
Okay, gotcha.
So same brokerage, kind of helping him try to sell it, find a buyer. But
nice.
He bought it for primary use and he wanted to make it a short-term rental. But in Brown County, you can't have them too close together. And the neighboring lot has a house that has one.
Gotcha.
So unless they relinquish their permit, then this one could get the permit.
So that's Brown County's rules?
It's Brown County. Okay. It's very nitpicky. You have to have a proper setback of your short-term rental from the roads, weirdly enough.
I respect it. It keeps the vibe of Brown
County
the way it is.
And they're very old-timer. It would, as you would imagine their local government would be, it is that way.
Yeah.
Like it's much more of a handshake-like place.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of cool though. I like it.
It's kind of sweet.
I told Tiffany we had 2 Airbnbs. Tiffany's my wife. We had 2 Airbnbs last year. I was gonna ask you too how you like it, but it was so much work and it like
where were they?
Drained me here in Westfield. So
they're a lot of work, man.
They are.
I just got done with one this morning. It is a bit draining. I had
cleaning it or something, or
I don't clean it. Had an issue. Had raccoons in the attic. It's an older property.
Raccoons like you, man.
It's the same one. They
came back.
If they smell, there's a scent in the attic.
Gotcha.
I need to remediate it because there's a scent, so they'll want to keep going back, like it's their safe ground or whatever. And the guest heard them at night, and she freaked out. She reported me to Airbnb.
Oh wow!
Full refund.
Oh wow!
So really bad. Kind of ruined the part of the weekend.
That's why Airbnb, bro, it's
a lot
hard because when we first started one of our Airbnbs, Superhost is huge. It helps you. Yeah. You're top of the listing, or there's a filter for whatever.
Yep.
So we were working. What do they do it every quarter or something? So every 3 months.
Like that.
Literally, we had the right star average. It's like 4.7 or 4.8 average of star reviews, or whatever. I think we were on the line. Like we were north of it, so we were gonna get Superhost. And our last guest, the weekend, literally like days before they evaluated. He was older, probably 70s, maybe 80s, older. Like the word review that he wrote was like, "This house is amazing, super clean, excellent property, with nothing to report, 4 stars." I was like, "Dude, that
I think
4
that's
stars,
like older people.
It's
I've
older
noticed.
People. Yeah,
they think 4 is like
5 is like I'm literally in heaven.
It's brutal.
Yes. So
it's honestly brutal.
Below that line, and then for 3 months we didn't get Superhost because it took us below because of that one guy's. And like I get it, like I want you to be honest on your reviews.
Yep.
But if you're giving it a raving review, it was just it was more untimely than anything.
It was untimely
because we only had 10 guests or 12 guests. So like it pushed it so much
Yeah.
because there wasn't enough. It was so unbalanced. But
now Westfield has no regulation, or
they're working on it. Yeah. As of right now, I don't think, other than HOAs, there's no regulation. I mean, there's Grand Park, which is, you know, that they pull 2-3 million.
Were you getting a lot of people for that, or?
That's pretty much, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't successful. That's why.
Oh, really? You shut them down. What are they now?
They're we sold one of them, so I owned one of them. It was a long-term rental, and then I switched it to Airbnb, hoping to make more, which was a bad decision. It wasn't bad, you know, it was a learning experience. And then the other one was owned by an investor, and we were arbitraging it. So we now just manage it for him long term.
Okay.
Yeah. So it worked out. We lost money, you know, if you looked at the year to date, you know, ledger, we lost some money on it, but it was a good learning experience. At least taught me, because I was also pitching managing short-term rentals as property management, and we never landed one. But I was
whole different business. I think they really need to be two different.
100%. If someone asked me, I was like, "Oh yeah, we can do it," because I was like, it was still a hustle mentality of like I can figure it out. And
I think when you're younger and new, you should just take everything, see what sticks, because you never know which one's gonna just be that lightning bolt that goes off.
Yeah, and if you know, if we signed a crazy amount of people, I would have just hired someone to do that own entity. But I am thankful, you know, kind of for the losses on those, just because it showed me I do not want to be involved in that. For sure. You know, it's like who grabs the mail, who takes out the trash, and if you have one, like how many do you have? Just the one?
2 now.
2? Okay. Yeah. Do you take out the trash yourself, or do you have someone who does
No,
it?
I've trained a cleaner. Like if I'm there, I stop by every so often, once a month, to check in. I'll like do a little bit, clean up the trash and whatever. But normally the cleaner is trained on when trash day is, how to set it up, how to report things to me that are not going well. Yep. So I use the cleaner to manage it, and I pay them more than a traditional cleaner because they're like a skilled cleaner. And then I'm pretty much self-managing. So it's this balance that I like. I think I'll do more. I would love to. My goal actually with investing is to have 5 units. Probably will make that 10 once I get 5, but like start 5 units. So I'm actually going to start selling some single family homes I have. Nice. That wouldn't be good short-term rentals to just sell them.
You want to focus on short-term.
I want to focus because if you're in, you might as well go all in. Yeah. And I'm in it for better or worse. I know how to do the travel nurse game too. Yeah. It's not that complicated and a little more stable. So I might have some do that. You can transition them easily too. Just clean it, put it on Furnish Finder,
it's a different
and block platform. Airbnb. It's easy. So I'm gonna just scale that up and probably like 1099 a really good skilled cleaner to then who can manage other cleaners. I have someone in mind who was a long-term tenant who has that executive skill to do that for me. Yeah. And then that will help me get passive to focus on like whatever it is, getting more investors or doing more realtor deals. So I think that's my plan. Yeah, I think kind of what you're saying was my problem is that I was so pulled in other directions. I couldn't focus on the Airbnbs at all. And when they weren't profitable, I was like, why would I commit more time to it when it's not profitable? I've heard the same story from a lot of people whose heart and like it wasn't their main thing. Yeah. For me, I do see it as a main thing. So it helps. It's a cool, like I enjoyed like when Tiffany's family came into town, they could stay there. Or we had friends from California or wherever they could stay. That was cool. Like having that ability, you know, we let people stay there for a bachelor party one time. Just that was cool to have that extra house to do that. Yeah. You know, with a long-term rental, you can't do that. But there's pros and cons for sure. And there's plenty of people who are extremely successful, you know, doing only Airbnbs or for our goals, it's just like, I'd rather just buy a long-term, stick a tenant in there. If it breaks even, it breaks even. Like we'll just, and I love that too, because that's the truly passive way to build this out. And so I think for most investors I work with, I recommend doing that. I'm like, don't get any short-term rentals, dude. It's another job. Yeah. You don't want a job. You just want an investment. Yep. So do long-term. For sure. How many properties do you have total right now then? It's 12 units. Okay, nice. 2 of them were quads, so it's 6 properties. And I have 2 partners, so I mean, I don't own them all 100% me, but we're actually selling my first, which was a quad. That's a Class C quad. It was just a bit hard to manage. Yeah. Cash flowing, but a bit hard to manage in a Class C, not a great area. Where's it at? It's on Tacoma Ave near Needhammer Coffee downtown. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to actually, like I said, try to get to 5 short-term. So from 12 to 5 short-term. So a lot of consolidation. Yep. You know. Are you actively listing that? Is it already listed? Was going to list last week, and then I had a buyer off market.
Oh, nice. So you're already under contract?
Under contract
Dang.
for the price we wanted.
Nice. That's perfect.
Yeah.
With investment properties, I've come to find out that off market is so much better.
Yeah.
Easier.
It is.
Like we're trying to list, we have those 9 that we're selling, and just getting showings in is so much work.
It's a pain in the butt.
Pain.
You got to go direct and like find who would want to buy these.
Yeah.
And then, it's just like, it's more likely to actually close.
Yep.
You know, too. You know who they are type of thing.
And you know who they are. You can getting one person in even a couple times is easier than getting 30 randos that probably aren't going to buy.
I hate showings for investment properties, especially tenants. It's a joke.
And I honestly, a lot of times I tell them like, hey, just look at the pictures. Like if you're an investor, you kind of know what you're looking at.
You'll have the inspection period. Like you're going to be fine.
If you have to back out, I would honestly rather that be the case than try bothering the tenant, because it only comes back on you. Like the tenants get mad at you. The buyer's agent gets mad at you. The buyers get mad at you. The seller's like, why are you not selling? Like everything's like, well, this is just not enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know? Which is funny because selling an investment property is, I guess I was going to say less work, but it may not be less work, but it's the same thing as the buyer, you know, like now you're just spending time on because traditionally you work towards those listings as a realtor. You know, that's where the money's made. Listing, you go to one property, it's a lot easier. Then you move up into like luxury listings and higher end listings. You know, as an investor, sometimes it's better to be the buyer because it's like I'm buying off pictures. I can write offers all day long. It takes me 10 minutes to write an offer.
That's kind of how I think about it. If I'm on the buy side, I want to be the buyer of investment properties, and then listing, just keep growing that. Cool, man. Yeah,
this was great. I think
this is awesome.
There's lots of things in there people can take away from. It was great getting to talk to you, and
likewise, man.
We'll have to stay in touch.
And for people that want to like, I guess like meet me or meet guys like you, I have those events for indie investors. So we have a happy hour monthly, and then we have a masterclass quarterly. So rootsrealty.co.
Nice.
Is where people can like sign up.
Yep. And then what's your Instagram handle?
Tyler_Lingle.
Cool. Yeah, we'll put it in there.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, this was great. I appreciate you coming on.
Likewise. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, awesome.
This is so super fun.
Yep. Thanks, Tyler.
Sweet, man.